Why don't we just start off like this? Where did your passion for singing and acting come from?
Um, well, I come from a musical family. My parents um, made sure we were all involved in some sort of musical activity. My dad was a DJ, and I had a store, a record shop. My mom played piano and sang as well, and that's really where that started.
Cool. What was your first play and acting? What was your first play and acting experience?
I'd say at School of the Arts, I was in. I think the first thing was All Night Struts, which is like a Soda Singers School of the Arts, Soda Singers group, almost like a glee club kind of thing, where we performed, tapped, and I learned a little bit of dancing stuff. That was my first experience on stage doing a singing, dancing thing.
How did you know that you were really starting to fall in love with it? I mean, it's one thing to come up in a musical family and be exposed to all of it, but can you remember a moment when you really thought this is something that I love and I want to pursue?
I was a pianist first. I didn't sing young, but as a pianist, as a kid, I always knew that this is something that I was just very passionate about, something I really wanted to do. I didn't know what it meant to have a career doing something like that, as far as piano was concerned. But I knew that I just loved it. I didn't want to do anything else. That's all I did. And it just continued and grew from there.
So when did you start really taking singing seriously? I mean, you said you were late to it and you did piano first. When did you start taking singing seriously?
I took singing more seriously. It's a little bit in high school. Miss Watson and at School of the Arts really kind of kicked me into doing a little bit of vocal stuff, I would say, because I wasn't really a singer like that, but I was in choir and I did all things and I had fun with my friends and all that, but I wasn't a singer still. But I looked up to certain people in my class, and there was a guy named Maurice. He was older than me, and yes, I saw him singing, and I was like, wow, you have quite the great presence and sound to your instrument. But that's not me. I'm not a singer. So I'd say like when I went to college, that's when I really started shifting a little bit. When I decided I was going to be a music major, and another teacher, Todd Graber at SUNY Oswego, said basically that I had to take lessons. I had to be a major of some sort, even though I started there as a computer information systems major. He was like, "Yeah, you gotta take some lessons with me." I was like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna do this. I've heard this before. I guess I'm gonna see what happens with this."
So I know because I know Todd Graber, but what about his pitch really made you realize you had to kick it into gear?
Well, at that point, I had put music kind of on the back burner. I actually my first college was Monroe MCC, Monroe Community College, and there was where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I actually got into Fredonia, but I didn't. I was trying to figure out again what it meant to be a musician, and how you could do that now more realistically. And I got into Fredonia as a can't remember exactly the degree. It was like piano performance or whatever it was, but music. And I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do right now. So I went to MCC to figure it out. Got my computer. I started doing computer information systems or information science. I can't remember exactly what they called it there, but I started looking into computer majors and trying to figure out what I wanted to do in computer related field. And I put music to the side and said, I'm going to do this just for fun or whatever. And then at MCC, I started picking up and seeking out the music department. And it's like, all right, let me just see what's here. And so then I started adding music classes and choir and whatnot. And I was like, all right, I'm doing a little bit more because I just wanted to do something related to music. And so I added a little bit of music back there. And then again, I was really trying to focus on the computers. And then when I went to Oswego, I did the same thing. I went there just for the computer degree, but I wanted something that had an access to music as well. And when I got there, I found myself doing the same thing. And I was like, okay, I've been running away from this music thing for a while. So now I'm just open to whatever is put in front of me.
Cool. So when you graduated SUNY Oswego, talk to me about the first couple of years trying to strike it out on your own as a professional musician. What was that like?
Big question. Let me see. I graduated Oswego, went back home, I got my computer degree, I got my music degree. I got a job, a black If you've ever taken classes online, Blackboard Online Learning. And I started working there as a team captain and doing all kind of stuff there and troubleshooting the people's systems and whatnot. And then I was also doing some stuff on the side. I started teaching, and I spent the year doing mostly Blackboard actually. And then I really wanted to, through Todd Graber's guidance, I wanted to go to my master's, get my master's. And someone had told me at one point, like, if you take a break, you're not going to go back. Like the odds are you're not going to go back. And so when someone tells me I can't do something, that kind of pushes me to then do that said thing. But I knew I needed a break. So I took the break, and I was very determined to like go back to school. So with Todd's help, I started looking at the Eastman. And I fortunately got into Eastman, right there in Rochester, one of the biggest schools in the country for music, especially classical music, also jazz. But I was doing classical music. And so I went there and got my master's degree, vocal performance and literature, studying there with Jan Opelach, who really got my voice together, got me together. I had many other idols there who I looked up to, many singers, Catherine Cowdrick, many people, my fellow classmates. And that was me like, okay, I'm doing music of some sort. Thought it was going to be opera, but it shifted over time. And after that, I was teaching a bunch, performing some opera stuff, classical stuff. And man, it's a big question. I could talk for an hour about this, but basically I stumbled across a bunch of different art forms, and I decided that musical theater was where I was going to be for a little bit and give that a try.
Awesome. So I do have another quick housekeeping question. Did you happen to be a recipient of the William Warfield Scholarship? I think I have that in my brain somewhere. I just want to make sure if that. Okay. Okay, that's what I thought. I just had to double check that because I've done a couple stories and I remember seeing your name there. So I can double check that too. I just wanted to ask. So looking through your resume, you've done a lot of theater things in your time, but really what's been the big thing for you is you actually had a chance to play the role of George Washington in a Chicago production of Hamilton. So why don't you tell us about that Chicago production, how you landed that, and then talk to me about playing the role of George Washington in Chicago.
I love Chicago dearly, and I was there in 2018 in the summertime. So this show, Hamilton, is huge, right? Everybody knows it's huge. But I saw it for the first time in 2015. The previews, I believe it was June or July of 2015. And I actually won the lottery. And at that time, the show wasn't huge yet. It was, it was big, and obviously, but it wasn't huge. And I was like, I was just walking by with my girlfriend. It's like, oh, let's see what show is happening right now. I'll try to win the lottery. And I went in, put in for the lottery of this show, whatever it was, Hamilton, I guess that's what they call it. Like that was my mood at the time. And I won the lottery. And I was way more excited about the fact that I won a lottery in general than the fact that I was going to go see Hamilton. To give a little bit of a reference to how big it was not quite yet. Yeah, I won the lottery, and I remember sitting in that seat. I was sitting in the front row. I was sitting a couple rows in front of Joe Biden, and I was like, wow, people are in here. This is, okay, cool. Let's see what's happening. And there have been other hip-hop musicals at that time, but in my opinion, they weren't true to hip-hop. And they went a little bit more musical theater side. And I love musical theater too, so there's nothing against that, obviously. But this show, I remember sitting in the front row there, and I was like overwhelmed with emotion and feeling. And I had never experienced anything like that before in musical theater. And I felt this like immense pride to be sitting there, hearing all these references that probably most people in that theater didn't know. Like the Skylar Sisters, like Beyonce, like Destiny Child, like, and all these different hip hop references. And I was just like overwhelmed with emotion, seeing, my people on stage, people of color in lead roles that didn't have to play anything degrading or like a slave thing or anything like that. Just being strong lead actors and actresses. And it was a very emotional time. And I remember sitting there thinking like, this is this is a show that'll show my family why I love to do what I do. And so from that moment on, I was like, I need to be in the show. And it took me 2 years of auditioning and waiting in long lines and getting called back for things. And I was originally in for Mulligan Madison a bunch, and that's really what I wanted at the time, actually. And it wasn't quite working out with casting, and I think, we knew something wasn't quite right. They added Lafayette Jefferson to my packet like the second year. And it just, again, wasn't quite right. And then when they finally added George Washington to my audition packet, things started settling and feeling right. And I got that while I was on tour with another show, Love Never Dies. I was flying in on Mondays to do my audition in New York City. And it was quite a lot, but I got it done, made it happen, because I was very passionate about the show. And very fortunately, I got that call. Actually, I was on vacation in Australia when I got the call from my agents that asked if I wanted to be George Washington in the Chicago company of Hamilton. And I was very excited. So it's been a great ride. It's a great team. The team is incredible. Andy Blankenbuehler, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, obviously, Alex Lacamar, Tommy Kail, the creatives. They are just incredible. Jeffrey Sellers, the producer, he's produced all the big shows. Rand, he's done a bunch of stuff. And so that team is just a group of great people, and I'm honored to be working with them again.
Now, like you're doing this, you're doing the production in Chicago, then you get the call to go to New York. Tell me about that call. How did it feel?
Yeah, I was in Chicago doing the show in Chicago, and it actually happened to be, it was really funny because I've expressed my interest. That Jeffrey Seller came, again, the producer, came to the show. I actually can't remember the month it was, but maybe it was like May or something like that. Came to the show in Chicago and said, told us in person. We had heard that it was going to close. We had already heard that before. We got the official notice, but he came in person and told us, which doesn't happen, it doesn't really happen a lot. We get an email and have to, be told by the company manager or whatever. But he himself, the big producer, flew there, see the show, and have a meeting before the show and get us all together and tell us in person that the show was closing. And I really appreciated that. I really respect him for always doing that. He always shows up for different things we've had. And, we've had unfortunate deaths and stuff like that happen, and he would show up and support and show his love. So much respect to him for that. But anyway, he came to the show around then, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's official. It's closing January 5th. Got it. Cool. It was a long notice. So I was like, okay, great. And he said, but you guys are in the family. So if you're interested in doing one of the other companies, let us know. And so from that moment, several of us, or probably all of us, let them know, like, yeah, we're here. So I had my agents reach out and say, like, I'm definitely interested. I really enjoy this team and this family. And so we, made sure that they knew that, and we moved forward and doing other auditions and getting ready for other things, of course. And about July, I believe it was July 31st, because I don't call out a bunch, but it was I had to call out this one particular day because I was ill. And it happened to be that evening that I called out that my agents called me and told me that they wanted me to be the George Washington in New York. And I cursed at him, definitely. I definitely cursed. I was like, shut the heck up, shut the whatever. I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. That's what's happening. Congratulations. The whole room, we're on speakerphone of the whole agency. I'm a Clear Talent group. And so he put us on speakerphone, and I was like, yes, that's fantastic. I'm very excited. But then I couldn't tell anyone. And I was like, okay, cool. So, so it was like, that was like July 31st, so it was a long time ago. And you see, I just made that announcement like 2 days ago. So yeah, very, very, very great feeling. And soon by my partner, my right-hand man out in Chicago, Miguel Cervantes. So I'm really excited about that as well, to continue the Ham Shy experience here in Broadway, New York.
Awesome. So I've got one more question for you, and then I like to ask any artist I have on 3 kind of big picture questions. So in the time that you've been playing George Washington in Hamilton. What have you learned about the experience of playing a role like that, or just in life in general? What have you taken away from playing the role of George Washington in Hamilton?
I learned that George Washington is a real person, and he's always known as that first president, but this show dives into that a little bit more. It shows about Hamilton, but they drop little seeds of knowledge, cluing you into what George Washington went through and who he was, and you see all of his failures and all of his struggles and things he's gone through. And if you're an actor, a good actor, you do your research. And so when I saw that, I was the first time I was like, okay, let me look up and see what this is about a little bit. So like I found out, discovered all of his like failures. Actually, we only know him for his wins, but he's only there because of his failures. He's only successful because of that. So I was able to really connect with that personally, and thus be a better actor through that. You have to connect. I always say like acting is not pretending to be somebody. It's being yourself in different circumstances. So you have to connect with that character no matter what, villain or whatever. So I learned that. I also more technically learned what it takes to do a show, 8 shows a week, and the amount of stamina and like the awareness that you have to have, and mastery of your instrument. I very fortunately I can't say I've mastered it. You never master something. I've gotten to a point where I can kind of critique myself, judge myself, teach myself, and know what to do to get through and make it through 8 shows a week. And I'm very blessed to do a long running show so that I can continue to do that every 3 months and check into myself, or every 100 shows and check it again, whatever. And I've grown as an artist through that, and as I get deeper and deeper into this character. So I'm excited to do that again more here in New York.
Cool. All right, 3 big picture questions for you. You, of course, being a Rochester native, can answer this question beautifully. What do you think about Rochester and the Rochester community that makes it such a good place for cultivating artists and creating original art?
Okay, in Rochester, there is so many outlets. There are so many great outlets to go and perform or connect with other people. I started taking lessons at like Hochstein Music School there downtown, and I've met several different great teachers there who guided me. And so I love Rochester because of that, and because of the fact that they bring so many artists into the town. I remember seeing Herbie Hancock, which is one of my pianistically, jazz piano wise, like he's like someone I really look up to and respect his art and his work. And so Rochester continues to bring people in town that are great. They have fringe festivals and all sorts of festivals where people can come together and do a new show or do what have you. Like they just have so much going on there, and it's great to see. If I wish when I was younger, like I said, I wasn't a singer or a theater person as a kid, but I wish I almost had more time to like really appreciate those things when I was younger. But that's, having those opportunities is what it takes to get you exposed to other things and expand your mind. So I'm very grateful for my education there.
I'm sure you know that you're welcome back anytime. The next thing, I know you got a big debut tonight, but I'm going to ask you to look ahead just a little bit. If you could accomplish one thing in your musical career and then call it a day, you'd be happy knowing that you accomplished that one thing, what would it be?
Man, that is ever-changing. That's an ever-changing thing. One thing that I could do. Man, I would love to be able to give back and inspire others. I can't say that there's one particular thing, but that is something that I'm passionate about. That's why I love to teach, and I go into schools and teach master classes and connect with kids who maybe didn't have the opportunities that I had, or like that I found, myself, to leave a legacy, like that, to say like I went or reached back down and taught others or inspired somebody to to be themselves. That is something I'm passionate about as an as an older brother. I'm a middle child, but I have a lot of siblings. So like I always look at my siblings, my younger siblings, and I'm like, I'm hoping they're, learning at the end of the day, and hopefully watching, and hopefully I'm doing something and learning and showing and leading by example and doing the right thing. And if that is it, I would be very happy.
Beautiful. I got one more for you, kind of led into it for me. If you could give any advice to aspiring artists, what would it be?
Be open. Be open to everything. Don't pigeonhole yourself. I just told a little bit of my story. I'm a pianist, classical pianist. I love playing Beethoven. I love sonatas. I love Chopin. Oh, I love Chopin. Then I was in opera, and I love learning languages. I love French, German, Italian. Took a little bit of Russian diction, Spanish, absorbing all of that. I went and performed in Italy and classically, but I also have written a different show with a friend of mine at a company called Soul Defined, and we performed that show in Italy, and I've experienced different cultures. Just be open to receiving everything and absorbing everything, and don't pigeonhole yourself. But at the end of the day, be yourself. Be yourself.
I love it. How you feeling about the premiere, or the debut rather, in New York?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to share this here. I'm excited my parents are here, and I'm excited to be back in this city. I love Chicago again, like I said, but I'm here back in New York State, and I'm happy to be with friends and family and share this story and this blessing with this world.
You're the man, Tamar. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, no problem. Thanks for having me, man.